Welcome to the show, my friend.
What's going on?
All right, so this is the second time I'm talking about Snowflake on this show. I had a chance to interview your producer Kristen way back in the early days of Reveel'd, but coming back around because I want to discuss the awesome music that you have in this film, and that couldn't be done without discussing with the man himself who wrote this movie. So first off, in your own words, tell people what the short film Snowflake is about.
Well, Snowflake is about a young lady who is finding her own voice through her artistic talents that she hasn't yet revealed to anyone. No pun, reveal. But she's being told how and what she should do in her little young self in her life, and she wants to express herself in a totally different way. And her way to do that is through rhyme, poetry, and hip hop music.
It's pretty special in the film, and I don't want to spoil too much because we want people to
Mhm.
watch the films, but it's been out for a while, so I can talk about some of it.
Mhm.
The when she breaks into her rap in front of the classroom,
Mhm.
that's just pure movie magic. To me, I was like, you don't I how to say this politely. In indie film, you never know when somebody says, "Oh, we're going to make a musical or we're going to have a song in a movie." I understand that not everybody has the budget to pull from, you can't pull hip hop from the likes of Lil Wayne and Eminem and whoever
Mhm.
else to do the movie. So you think indie sometimes has a bad stigma of being cheap or not sounding as good. But her rap blew me away, not only in like the lyrical content and the composition, but also her performance. The actress is
Yeah.
incredible. What's that like for you when you write a song like that? Were you on set for the movie? Were you there
I was
coaching and
there. I
helping? Yeah.
Yeah, I was we spent a little bit, not even a lot of time, because Ava's just a natural performer
Mhm.
anyways. So she just needed a little bit of direction as far as the timing, but then she nailed that on her own. So it wasn't like this big excruciating session that she and I
Yeah.
exchanged, but we did spend a little bit of time on, like, a lot of that was right on set, like spur of the moment, like, okay, we'll run through it a couple of times, and then lights, camera, action.
Is it magic watching that come together? Like when she first does it on here, was the whole I imagine the whole crew must have just been like, yes, we've nailed it. Because the movie comes down to that. If that doesn't work, the movie wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, and I give you a little tidbit about how that scene kind of came to be, because
Hmm.
there was supposed to be a different scene where she would perform the lyrics, which you see a little bit of it in the film when she's walking through that little subway area. That there
Hmm. Yeah.
was supposed to be the final moment of when you heard her, and I don't. It could have been me, or me and Kristen were going back and forth with it, the producer, and I felt that it needed to be emphasized and it needed to be a cappella, because I felt like if it was a cappella, not only would it hit harder, but her performance would shine through. So we switched it to the classroom scene, which was, I think, was probably one of the most brilliant parts of the short.
It's interesting.
Um,
I just watched. I have my next reveal interview is for a musical that's also on the platform, and they make a choice in a specific moment to go a cappella without any of the
mm,
instrumentation, and it's so powerful. And I remember seeing, different style of music, but Les Miserables when they did it is the movie with Anne Hathaway. Her
yeah,
big a cappella moment at the beginning that won her the Oscar. It's just that a cappella is so important, and you're right. It takes away all the backing tracks. It puts her voice as the performer, but also the character just out in
mm,
the open with nothing else to hide behind, and just makes that moment hit home so much harder. How did
yeah.
you get involved in the film?
See, I've known Kristen for well over 10 plus years. I met her on the set of, there was like some mini series that was being worked on in the area back when film was kind of hitting the Massachusetts area,
Okay.
and she told me about this thing. This, because as you know, this movie has been in the making for a very long time,
Hmm.
and there have been very many different iterations of lyrics and songs that have come to be a part of this project. So over the years, she and I had just been working together on that, the Snowflake, and then other things we partnered on along the way. So we've just kind of been in each other's lives as partners, and creating for, well over a decade. So it was no question when she was ready to do, this version of Snowflake that we would again work together. So I was honored and blessed, to be a part of this once again. And she trusts and believes in my ability to bring this character to life because we both have been so close to it for so long.
What's the process, and how does it differ? You write, a hip hop song and some lyrics for just an artist recording in the studio, but when it ties to a movie, you've got to specifically cater the lyrics. What's your process of like working with the writer or understanding the script and the character to come up with those lyrics?
I've always considered myself like a visual writer. Even when I was doing music for myself, I would write the song in reference to me making a music video for it.
Hmm.
So when it was time to write, again for Jessie, like I said before, it was one way. She was a lot older. I think she was like in her early 20s, and then shifting into a younger age, I had to kind of put my mindset in thinking of what this story was going to look like. And based off of some of the script stuff that was going on into it, it was made it a lot easier to just kind of pen the lyric. It was like writing a script. To me, it's like writing the story because it was a short.
Hmm.
So there's a
Yep.
lot of elements that you're not going to see that I could kind of fill in the blanks on, at the same time make reference to what was already on the pages. So I felt like that was a big part and easier for me to write this because I already write in visual as is. So
Do you have a moment in a movie that you could remember where music just like smacked you right in the heart? Like, because I feel like good placement of music in films is so important, and there are dozens of examples out there. But do you have a personal thing where you can remember, like early on in becoming a film fan and becoming
mm.
a lover of film, that something music or a track or something really impacted you?
What's so funny is it's always been like that with me. A lot of times, like the music or the soundtrack of a music is what helps me remember a movie.
Hmm.
Like how like you can recite your favorite movies word for word, beat for beat.
Yep.
Sometimes it's that score that allows you to do that. So, for instance, one of my favorite movies was Saint Elmo's Fire. I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever remember
Yeah.
that
Of
one.
course. Yep.
And the one thing about that movie that stands out to me is its soundtrack, its score, its music, everything that's in it. It embodies the time period and the emotion in that movie. So just the way that the music hits in telling the story, that's always been my thing with any movie. And then if you skip forward to now, there are a lot of movies that still kind of do that, even in this wacky way, like something like maybe Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah.
um,
Oh yeah.
and even the new what Peacemaker that's out. Like James Gunn is probably one of the masters at knowing how to put music into a story, no matter how crazy or how wacky it is. You're still going to connect with it through the music that's in it.
It's
So
that is
those,
that I think of a Baby Driver was a good example where
oh
he pre-chose
yes,
the music,
yes,
knowing that he was going to edit and shoot it like a musical to the film. For
mm-hmm,
me, one of the first that I remember, I mean, St. Elmo's Fire, that's the era of when you could make singles and break artists, and
yeah,
that was like precursor to John Hughes having a breakout and all those Brat Pack
mm-hmm,
movies where the soundtracks were big sellers. But it's
yeah,
Man on Motion was the big song off of that one
yep,
that it
yeah,
still plays on the radio.
yeah,
Like these are iconic songs that if not for the movies, maybe the song wouldn't have ever been a radio single. But the one
yeah.
that I remember growing up was watching. Oh, what's the Robin Williams and Good Morning Vietnam, and
Oh
they use
yeah,
Louis B. Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World" playing
mm-hmm,
because he's the DJ at the radio station. He's got the record on, but it's just cutting to all the atrocities of war, the bombings and the rapes and the
wow,
beating of citizens in the street. And that's the first time I saw that sort of use of contrast of music, where
mm-hmm,
you've
mm-hmm,
got this beautiful, happy, hopeful song playing over like the worst that humanity has to offer.
yeah,
And that's something that I is definitely carried with me because I often do that in my own films. But I think that the song selection or writing of music for movies outside of the traditional score and the song placement is so undervalued these days. And I don't know if it's because everything in the music industry has gone to singles on Spotify, so there's no selling of albums, so it's less
yeah.
important to a big studio, or if it's just sort of a lost art form that we're going for more canned music or pulling off the top 20 charts and putting that into a film.
Well, I honestly sometimes I think that it also plays a part. What plays a part is Now it's all about selling the movie or selling the song.
Yeah.
So they just go with what's popular versus making something really good. The last time I could remember something being used in opposite where it was a really good song and really fit the story would probably be uh A Star Is Born.
Oh yeah. Huge
Um
single. Yeah, huge
and
single.
and I challenge anyone to watch that movie and hear that song and not feel something or feel emotional
Yeah.
in the moment of that. It just I don't know. It just I don't can't even explain how it makes you feel.
Especially
But
that
that's
moment, especially that moment in the movie where she first gets on stage with him and is really nervous, and then
mm,
belts into the song and just hears the crowd cheer and kind of like gets
yeah,
swept up in it and goes for it. Yeah, that's
yeah,
it's a magic moment in the film. But that song, like if that song's on the radio, that's a turn it up all
yeah,
the way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's the last time I could remember something like that playing a part in the movie as well. And nothing since like that since like maybe The Bodyguard
Yeah. Oh, I
or
mean
something like
that's
that. Yeah.
I mean I'll mention it quickly, not to get too off topic, but did you know that it was Kevin Costner who said you should cover Dolly Parton's "I Will Always Love You" in this movie? He's the one who brought that idea up,
What?
which is insane, right? You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you
Well, I
just
mean,
wouldn't think that Kevin Costner over Whitney Houston or her team would be the people to. I think I saw that in a Clive Davis documentary. He was talking about that. Yeah.
wow. That's when it's meant to be. It's meant to be.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's my love
crazy.
for music videos as well. Is it's just such a great way to put visuals to music, and why I love doing it. How did you get
Hmm.
started in music?
I was it's funny. I got started in music because my brother, who's actually a DJ, he's a DJ out here locally and pretty known in the local scene doing house parties and clubs and stuff like that. Now he does bigger events like weddings and things like that. But he was always in the hip hop scene, and he came across some guys that were about my age who wanted to get into rap music and stuff like that. And I felt a little left out. I ain't gonna lie, like I was a little jealous. And so I wrote my first rhyme and told my brother was like, "Hey, I want to let these guys hear what I do." And the rest was history from there. They liked it, and we became a group. And then years later, I was performing in big stages at the Palladium, out of state, out of town, that kind of thing, and just something that I was wanted to be a performer at the time. And then I went from being a performer, to wanting to kind of get involved with movies because that's always been a long time passion of mine. I've always been a movie buff, and I wanted to figure out a way to incorporate the two, and then that's when Kristen came into my life. So I've been in the music for a very long time and have done just about everything from being an artist to managing artists to performing to write. Just I've had every piece of doing something in music
How
for a
did
while.
you have you been working on any films since then? Like, have you had the opportunity to write music for any other films?
No, I haven't. I kind of fell into like the cinematography world.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean it's something that I'm always interested in doing and doing more music. But the whole creative process of this industry is what really drives me because I don't just do one thing. I don't feel like I do one thing. I'm not in a box. I don't like to be in a box. I just feel like I'm an overall creative individual. So whether it's music, whether it's writing, whether it's producing or shooting the actual project, I feel as though I can bring something to the table. So would I do it? Absolutely, but haven't had that opportunity outside of what we just done. You know.
It makes sense that you're into cinematography because we have the best lit episode of Revealed yet. I've got the red background to match now. I said earlier in pre-interview, it looks like Star Wars. You're the light side. I've got the dark side going on, and yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's hard to get into cinematography and then not want to just continue to. Oh, I got a Zoom call. Well, now my Zoom call's got to look great. Or like,
Oh
no, if I
man.
just open this window curtain a little bit more, it'll be nicer in this room. Yeah.
You buy one toy, and then the next thing you know, in a year later, you have so many other toys, and it just keeps building and building from there. I've gotten bit by the bug. I'm starting to like get worried because I can't
You just
stop
have to
buying
make friends with more. You just have to make friends with more gaffers. Get your camera and then use everyone else's stuff. I don't think Steven Spielberg owns the Panavision camera. He just rents it for every shoot. So
things.
obviously different budget level.
Yeah.
So yeah, just in closing, what's your reaction been to, or sort of people's reactions to the movie and the feedback that you've heard about Ava's performance and the music in the film?
You know, and it's weird because I love the feedback that I've been hearing, but sometimes I'm so humble that like I can't believe the overwhelm. Like it's overwhelming sometimes. Like the song in the movie has won many indie film festival awards for
Hmm.
original song. Even I think the last one was the iconic film festival was one of them. We won best original song, and I'm grateful for that. Like it just solidifies that I'm doing what I should be doing. If the music that I'm writing that isn't even related to myself as an artist, it's related to an actress,
Hmm.
another entity, and it's still touching people. That just makes me feel warm and sentimental, and solidifies that I'm in the right place doing the right thing. So yeah, I'm just grateful that people are even connecting with it on that level, or even considering it to be the great anything, the best anything, even at its level, because the world hasn't experienced it yet.
Yeah, it's an amazing film. I do hope the feature, I do hope the other iterations of it come together.
Mm,
I know Kristen's talked about a possible animated version
yeah,
and all this other
yeah.
stuff, which is awesome.
There's also a
But
book. There's also a book too. It's available
and
now.
and the book that's
Children's book.
available, which I haven't read.
Yeah,
I need to go
yeah,
purchase myself a copy.
yeah.
But for everybody out there, reveal.net, it's a streaming service that is free. You don't have to give a credit card, you don't get a monthly bill, you'll never
Hmm.
be suckered into anything. You don't have to watch ads to watch the content, and you can find awesome short films like Snowflake that we're talking about today. Thank you very much for joining us.
No,
Awesome
thank you.
insight into the music, and hopefully we get to see a project that you do cinematography for on Reveal, and then we'll have to have you back and discuss that.
Absolutely. Thank
All
you for
right.
having me, man.
Of course.